What's up, everybody, and welcome to another awesome episode of the Insurance Untangled Podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts today, Jordon Comstock. With me, I got Naren and Ben. What's up, dudes? How are you guys doing?
What's up, Jordan?
Yo.
We're doing great. And yeah, super nice to be back. And I know Ben is our guest today. And Ben, you have some awesome stuff to share with us.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking.
Looking forward to it. I'll do the one thing that insurance companies, I will not do the one thing that insurance companies do and make shit up. How's about that? Ask me questions, I'll give you the truthful answer.
Sweet. Yeah, that's why you're on the show today. We're going to be talking about current challenges with insurance billing and solutions to fix them. Seems like there's always challenges with insurance billing, Ben. Why? Why is there so many issues?
Well,
my first question.
The funny thing is, I was on the phone this morning with a client whose wife is an attorney, and the wife, she runs the business too. She's a full-time attorney, and then she runs the business during her spare time, the dental practice, and they do about 1.5 million a year.
I wonder if they're one of our clients too. It sounds familiar. This relationship thing with
there's a lot of these duos, with the doctor and attorney as a spouse.
Interesting.
And interesting, she asked me, she's like, Ben, how do we get our contracts from insurance? Because we've been asking for them for years and they never disclose them. And her area is not contract law. She does tax law. And I said, well, we have to take some of that IRS strategy to scare the insurance company. She said, well, I'm not very scary. I'm a tax attorney, but I'm not very scary. I said, well, let me put a letter together for you. And the funny thing is that she's saying, the theme is that anytime she or her team members call insurance on the same issue, they all get a different answer. Like, for instance, when they call and say, what's the termination clause for Delta Dental? One Delta rep will say, well, it's 30 days. The next Delta rep will say it's 60 days. Then the next Delta rep will say it's 90 days, right?
Wow.
It's like, well, nobody knows, so we need to get the contract. So the problem that you're seeing with insurance billing these days is that very issue, is that insurance companies are fumbling on benefits for patients. So when they verify benefit, when a practice verifies benefits and they get the EOB, they don't match, right? And who looks like the idiot at that point to the patient? It's the practice that looks stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so insurance companies have no accountability. They're not doing things correctly. Even me personally, right? Where my wife was put off, like the insurance company denied a medication that was helping her improve her health. Like scientifically, there's evidence.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so on Sunday, she starts to have these adverse, really harmful negative reactions to her heart.
Wow.
Because of a new medication that the insurance will cover and say, well, we're going to cover this because it's what we feel like we want to cover. So the doctor diagnosed it. And one of the side effects is heart failure.
Gosh, dude.
So, we're dealing in a world where insurance carriers have no care whatsoever. I don't care what the commercials say, but they have no care whatsoever with regards to health improvement for individuals. It's all about money. And sadly, as dental practices, we deal with the harsh reaction among patients when insurance companies deny treatment, right, and leave the cost of care on the patient. So that's a big issue that most practices that are in network that are facing today, is that the abuse from insurance carriers has just been accelerated. It's increased significantly over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying.
That is pretty annoying. And I understand. You have to put up with this if you're a practice owner day in and day out, right? It's not like a one-time problem. It's just, it's like forever, right? So what are some of the major challenges practices are facing today with regards to billing, insurance billing, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a couple of things. Number one, there's still a culture of practices having a hard time finding qualified individuals to submit claims, right? Prepare claims and submit them. So naturally, a lot of dental practices are outsourcing.
It just seems
that
such a hard job to do and to want to do.
You know,
to find talent that wants to do that.
We're quickly discovering that if you're really good at it, a lot of the really, really good insurance billers are starting their own companies, you know.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
now they're
I can see that.
charging Yeah, the pricing, and this is kind of the interesting thing, is that the price to outsource traditionally it's cheaper than what you would do in-house, right?
Okay.
But because of the lack of qualified people that are willing to do this in dental practices as a direct employee, the outsourced services are becoming expensive. They're almost unbearably expensive to dental practices, insurance billing, that is.
My brother-in-law is a partner on a mental health clinic, and they're having issues with the billing stuff. And I'm like, man, this sounds similar to dental. And they hired an outsourced billing because they're a startup, right? So they're like, we got to hire somebody that can't pay them full salary, but we can outsource it, right?
Yeah.
And they just switched companies. It seems like it's helping them with their cash flow. The first company didn't do too well, but the second one they got is doing a good job for them. But it seems kind of like a headache, especially when it deals with cash flow.
It is. It's a major headache. And what I'm about to say next is going to really upset a lot of people that own these companies.
Go ahead.
Is that when it comes to insurance billing and dental, it seems like the companies cave into what insurance companies want. So you're receiving a service that is the script for that service is being determined by the insurance industry.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because when you talk about advocacy, right? When you talk about hiring a service to help you, and you're paying the bill to hire them, right? But the fiduciary responsibility is to the insurance company. And
like legally, legally, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the insurance company.
It seems that way. It seems, and not every business is this way, but we do see quite a bit of this where the people that are being trained on the billing side of things, they're conforming to insurance and they're writing off everything for these practices, right? So the big challenge today is in terms of insurance billing is that when insurance companies say something, if they're going to tell you a termination is 30, 60, and 90 days, same provider relations unit giving you 3 different answers. And then imagine how worse it is when it comes to submitting claims, when you get 3 different wrong answers from the insurance companies, and subsequently the easy thing to do is just to write that off, right? So practices are losing money simply because the lack of resources and time to really manage their accounts receivables in a way that you're maximizing every return, right? Every claim or every code that needs to be paid on.
Yeah, that seems annoying.
Yeah.
Sorry. Every time we talk about insurance, I'm like, man, that seems really annoying.
You got to take some Valium before we have these discussions.
Probably, yeah. So,
which we don't, by the way.
You're not on Valium right now?
No. I wish.
That's funny.
I've actually never had Valium in my entire life.
Yeah, whatever. I'm teasing.
I've had other sedatives, not Valium.
I'm teasing you. So I've heard that many offices are receiving refund requests from insurance. How should doctors handle refund requests, especially when there's no real evidence that the request is legit, dude?
Man, I've never seen the rate of refund requests in my career, and I haven't been in dentistry for long, right? I started 2007. That's not very long, but I've observed a lot among thousands of practices, and I've never seen the rate of refund requests that come in. Like an insurance company would send a refund request, and all it says is that we've done an audit over the last 5 years, and we estimate that you owe us $53,000.
It's like another IRS type thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the doctor looks into it, it's like our records are clean. It's like, what are you talking about? So the crazy thing is that traditionally only in-network practices have been receiving these refund requests. My advice is to not comply. Ask for evidence and proof. You can use the rule in terms of general collections. Like if you're in collections, like a collection agency is contacting you, the minute you acknowledge that debt, that's your debt, now you've opened the door for that collection agency to pursue it, right? You've owned it. And so the problem is that when you respond to these collection requests and saying, I want proof and evidence, in a way you are complying, right? My opinion on these refund requests is the policy is we don't negotiate with terrorists, right? we don't.
Yeah, it's what it sounds like.
And so when insurance carriers ask for these refunds, my policy is don't acknowledge it.
Wow.
Respond to the insurance. I actually have a letter that if anybody wants a copy of that, just send me an email. I'll be happy to give it to you for a small fee of $5,000, $999. Just kidding. I'll send it to you for free, but it's a letter that's designed to tell the insurance
I
carrier.
was going to say increase your prices.
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, give them the bird.
Yeah.
Sorry, children. If anybody's on this, any children.
Yeah.
We're talking about chickens, right? Give them the chicken. But yeah, don't acknowledge that you have to take responsibility. Say, this is not my responsibility. Don't know what you're saying. Back off, right? We're not going to comply, and just leave it at that.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They even have to do that.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
Thank you, Ben. I had a question. I heard insurance companies like Humana are suddenly dropping doctors without notice. Have you seen that? And if that does happen, what's the best way to handle those kind of situations?
Yes. So this has been going on since I've been in dentistry from 2007, and I'm sure it's probably started way before that. Is I personally experienced, both direct clients and then as well as working for a DSO years ago. Doctors, a part of that DSO, suddenly there were claims today were being paid in network, and then treatment for tomorrow, those claims would be out of network. And Humana doesn't give you or the patient any notice. You just all of a sudden disappear from the network, right? And there's a contractual issue with that, because when you read the contract with Humana, it does require notice, advance notice by Humana, advance notice by the doctor if either party wants to terminate the agreement. So what I've learned that works best is a solution that does require an investment. If you have a lot of Humana patients and you want to fight it, you can take it to court, right? Because you do have a contract that the insurance company has violated, and very few practices actually ever enforce that contract. And that's why these insurance carriers don't correct things. They don't correct unethical or illegal activity on their part, simply because the practices are not challenging the insurance companies using the court system, right? If you use a court system, these insurance carriers won't push you around the way they usually do. So on that part there, if you don't want to go that route of investing time and money and having, gambling on whether a judge is going to rule in your favor, to have the insurance company pay for your legal fees, which doesn't happen all the time, by the way. But if you don't want to take that risk, the best thing to do is communicate with your patients. I would send a letter, email, get a hold of them and say, this wasn't actually our choice, right? Our understanding is that we maintained an in-network provider status with Humana. We did not cancel it. They canceled it. And now you as a patient are being punished with increased unexpected out-of-pocket costs. I highly recommend that you report this to your HR department, simply because your insurance plan is not respecting your right to be informed about your insurance coverage. They've canceled our contract without notice, which subsequently affects you as a patient. You need to let your HR department know that. So that's probably going to be your best bet, is when the HR department contacts the insurance company. It's a different story than if you were to contact the insurance company directly, right? And that's because employers are the employers are the clients, right? Those are the ones that are paying that bill to the insurance companies. And when the employers get those complaints and they contact insurance, almost always the insurance companies respond lightning speed to get it corrected. So that's your best bet on a situation like this, where you don't feel like you want to invest money in suing Humana on these particular contractual issues.
Yeah, that's interesting. So here's a question. What is a healthy collection percentage standard for a dental office? And what should a practice do if they're well below that percentage?
Good question. Every practice, and I'd say a lot of coaches have different perspectives on this. CPAs, I've read something where CPAs say that a 98% collection rate is considered healthy. In my opinion, when it comes to collectible production, right? So you have production, your standard fees, and then your collectible production, which is what you produce based upon.
Like they have
what
two
you can
gross
actually
revenues.
collect. Yeah.
Two gross
Right?
revenues. Yeah.
So your insurance collections are based upon that collectible. What can you actually collect based upon your contractual agreement with insurance? In my opinion, in a perfect world, of course, you always want that to be at 100%. But we do recognize that sometimes when treatment plans are built, that sometimes there is some money that goes uncollected, which is natural in any business, right? So CPAs, I believe the Academy of Dental CPAs recommends at least 98% is a healthy percentage. I actually started my career at a group practice where their collection percentage was 60%.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like 60%. So for every $1 million that you can collect, we're writing off 400,000.
Dude, that's stressful, Ben, running that type of company.
Not being an owner of that business, to me, it was stressful because it was now my responsibility as the director of that department to pursue that money. So the key thing is just having really, really strict protocols. Like, for instance, they didn't collect at the time of treatment what patients their estimated payment. You have to collect that money, an estimated payment at the time of treatment, because stats show that when the patients walk out the door, just like when a person's interested in buying a car, if they don't buy it then and there and they walk out, the chances of you closing that sale, they drop significantly. And the same is true in business, in dental practices. When you don't collect that money up front from the patients, you then start to run into this issue of writing off thousands, if not millions of dollars on what patients owe. And then on the other side is what insurance companies pay you, right? Some practices, like this group practice, they would hold on to claims for 90 days. They wouldn't submit claims for 90 days.
For 90 days? Wow,
Yeah.
that seems like a great strategy for cash
Like,
flow.
Holy smokes. That's not smart. But even waiting a week is not a good idea. My opinion is that, we do the procedures today. By tomorrow, the claim is submitted, right? Or at least by today, the claim is submitted.
End of day, that's what I would say. End of day, cash flow rules.
Time is of the essence. No matter who you're collecting from, you have to have a very, very strict protocol. And then lastly is a lot of practices tend to give discounts to patients. When you're in network, you don't need to give a discount beyond what you're already discounting.
Goodness. So when they're in network, they're giving more discounts. Why?
The patients, which doesn't make, because patients grumble about fees, right?
Wow.
But the thing is that patients will complain about a fee regardless of whether it's $5 or $500.
Yeah.
So we always have to remember that.
I would imagine, Ben, that you gotta, as you're running a dental practice and communicating with patients, you learn how to position your services so that they value them, right? Everything's all about positioning,
exactly,
and communicating the value of your services in a certain way so that people value them versus saying, well, this seems like I can complain about it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're in network, you have to always remember that you're already discounting your fees significantly.
Yeah.
So the patient is already getting a significant reduction of fees, because if insurance kicks in and pays benefits, patients aren't coming close to paying full fees for anything unless you reach the annual maximum. So in that part there, just have very healthy, sound collection policies so that you don't run amok with your accounts receivables being totally out of control and way below that pinnacle 98 to 100% collection percentage.
Thank you, Ben. You share a lot of reasons why not to work with insurance companies. Almost like they make it difficult. They just don't want you to succeed. It's almost like your failure is in their best interest. If they work against you, right?
Yep.
So let me ask you a kind of a counterintuitive question. This is going to be my last. Is there any merit in quote unquote building a relationship with the insurance company? Will that make some of these claim related or any other issues go away?
Yeah, that's a very excellent question. The way to answer that is when you look at, and we won't talk too in depth about politics, but political science was my major in college. And
it all sucks. We can agree on that.
it's very backdoor, back channel relationships. You should watch that show Diplomat on Netflix.
Oh, I seen it.
That is like the relationship with Iran, right? United States, we don't have a diplomatic relationship with Iran. It's actually illegal for our diplomats to contact them directly. So the elements within that show there are so many things that are actually true.
Interesting.
But the question becomes, the culture of Iran, this is not representative of everybody, but the position of their government is death to America, right? And naturally, the public perception for the American government is they can't tolerate that, right? So they can't have a direct relationship with somebody where their position is they want to kill you. But the question
that's not a good relationship.
but that's not to say people
we have to have laws about that. Isn't that common sense? Hey, I'm gonna be friend with this guy that wants to murder
We like to
me.
kill you, but
Funny thing is that there's a lot of dentists here in the United States that are from Iran, and they love America. So
Sure,
that's just a government position, based upon a few people, right? But
usually the government position doesn't reflect the people position of that country. Yeah.
But when you look at it from a diplomatic relationship, we can't have a direct relationship with Iran, but we have to have an indirect relationship with them to keep peace, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so you work through these back channels, right? Our diplomats work through other countries that do have relationship with Iran to honor our laws and keep those relationships sound. So we're not bombing each other, right?
So you're basically saying work with these insurance companies like how our government works with Iran.
Pretty much.
So, get a degree in political science, watch Diplomat, what else?
So, but yeah, in a roundabout way, yes, you kind of have to, I have a picture with one of my slides in my presentation, right? Negotiations, it's one guy holding a knife behind his back, and then another guy holding a knife behind his back.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that cutthroat, but at the end of the day,
it can't. The stereotype, right, in negotiations is cutthroat. A great negotiation, though, is a collaboration, in my opinion.
Exactly, it's a collaboration, regardless of whether you like each other.
Yeah,
you have to work with each other in a way where the relationship isn't always adversarial, right?
Yep.
And so you have to build that balance. The mistake I see a lot of practices make is they become so invested in their relationships with the insurance representatives. And now it's an emotional relationship, so that when that person of the insurance company says, you need to do it this way, even if that way is wrong, for instance, you have to write off those buildups. If we deny them as an insurance company, yes, you did place that buildup, but you don't get to collect that from the patient. That is the wrong advice, right? Contractually, that's not appropriate, but that's what the insurance company is telling the practice that's so in love with insurance, right?
Yeah.
And what does that do with your money? It screws you in a big way, where now you're writing off things that you can collect, but you're letting the person that you like on the insurance company dictate your collections policies, right? You can't have emotional relationships. So be very diplomatic. I guess Jordon said it right. You kind of have to treat them like the United States and Iranian government, right?
Do you ever, speaking of negotiations, because I know you're in that realm every day, what do you think about like the Chris Voss book, Never Split the Difference? Have you read that book at all? What, from a negotiation standpoint, is that a great resource for people?
It's actually on my bucket list, and I can't speak to that in depth because I haven't read that book yet.
Sure. He's got so we train our team on it. He's got a master class that I think is better than the book.
Right. So explain to me, split the difference, like real quick. What's the
so just like 30,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Negotiation is a collaboration, and you use tactics like tactical empathy to get people to feel empathetic towards you versus the other way around, so that they have more empathy towards you and your situation, and make a deal towards that versus splitting 50-50 basically, right? Yep. So if like you and I were talking and trying to negotiate something, I would say like, Ben, I know you think I'm like the biggest loser and you don't like working with me, and kind of sabotage myself. You naturally will say, no, you're not a loser, you're great, right? Or whatever, hopefully, right?
Right.
Maybe you think I'm a loser.
course not.
I know. But use skills like that to bring empathy towards your side of the negotiation, so that you're not splitting the difference, which is going 50-50 basically, right?
That's actually, yes. So there's another book written by an author called Herb Cohen. It's Negotiate This,
Yeah, I've read
exclamation
that too.
mark, by caring but not that much. And it's exactly what you just described there.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most important skills for negotiations is you want to solicit emotional responses from the other side.
Yes,
So that we can have empathy towards your situation,
Yep.
right?
exactly.
So you have to be likable, you have to be kind, but you have to not compromise, right? You have to be very firm on what you
Yep.
want. So building relationships is important, but this is the hard part about human nature. And this is why a lot of people fail at negotiations, is when you apply that skill, the first skill, which is building a relationship of somewhat of a trustful relationship, right? Which is basically to kind of simplify it, you're trying to build a cordial relationship, a friendship, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a real friendship because there's a means to an end, and there are always going to be things that you're going to ask for that are going to be uncomfortable, right?
Sure.
But when you have that other person, if they like you, and that's what it really boils down to. If they like you and they respect your position and what you're asking for, a lot of times what you find is that emotional connection is the person that's giving, they'll continue to give, right? But you have to also give back.
Yep.
You
Reciprocity.
know, it's a little bit of give and take, right? It's a game of tug of war where at the end of the day, both sides feel like they're winning, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really delicate balance.
It really is. It's like a dance, right?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's, you know, the rule is that he or she who cares more, he or she who cares more will lose the negotiations. And that's sort of a harsh way of putting it, because at the end of the day, if I'm winning, in order for me to successfully win, I have to give back just a little bit, right?
Sure.
Make it a win-win situation, but you're making concessions on both sides to where the relationship doesn't go foul and amok immediately, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If anyone is interested in an example of good negotiations, I suggest watch the movie Air. It's a story of how Nike signed Michael Jordan.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that one.
It's a great movie, and I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but Michael Jordan made $2 billion from that single deal with Nike.
Just $2 billion?
Just $2 billion. Because every shoe they sell, every Air Jordan they sell, he gets 5%. So, they've sold, I guess, $40 billion worth of shoes.
Wow.
Just last year alone, I think I heard the numbers like $5 billion worth of Air Jordans. Of course, it made Nike, right? Because it changed Nike. So it's not like a lose-lose. Everybody wants.
They need it. They need it.
They were a small company before.
They were like a nobody, before then. Like doing $1 billion in, like the market cap was $1 billion. Now they're like hundreds of billions of dollars.
So he still generates revenue from that, huh?
Oh, 300 million a year, 250 to 300 million, because it keeps going up and up and up and up. It's crazy.
A nice retirement plan there.
Passive income. You talk about passive income.
Love it. That's the ultimate passive income right there.
That is the ultimate passive income.
Yeah.
$300 million.
Just slap my name on it.
And the negotiator is not Michael Jordan. It's his mom, at least according to the movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's the one who made that deal. Crazy. He's like an 18-year-old kid. He didn't know anything.
So good on her. That's awesome.
Moms, man, I'll tell you what, just like this American Idol winner this year, first time I watched the season, guy from Hawaii, 18-year-old from Hawaii. His mom was the one that brokered the whole thing from start to finish.
Great. Gosh, I wish my mom was good at negotiating. I could have been Air Jordan.
Well, look at where you're at right now because of your mom, Jordan.
It really is because of my mom, because of her pain points in dentistry.
Right.
Yep, it is my mom and my aunt. Yep. So that's funny.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So thanks to all the moms out there.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day week and a half ago.
Yep. Well, this has been an excellent episode, Ben. Really appreciate your insight, and I'm sure our listeners do as well. So with that said, go give us a great review on wherever you're listening to this at, whether it's on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. And stay tuned for our next shows as we produce more episodes. With that said, we hope you guys have a rocking day.
Take care, everybody.